It is perhaps the most famous and revered trilogy in cinema, with the first two films among the most highly regarded movies ever made, and both winning the Oscar for Best Picture in 1972 and 1974, respectively. The third, a Best Picture nominee from 1990, is often maligned and dismissed, which is misguided and unfair. But that's an analysis for another day. Each film contains a line that has become embedded in the American vernacular. I'll make him an offer you can't refuse. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Beyond mere quotability, each line serves as the theme for the film in which it is contained. How? Let me explain. The line is said 3 times in the film, all in slightly different forms. The first time, it comes from Al Pacino's Michael, when he tells Diane Keaton's Kay how his father got the singer Johnny Fontane out of a personal services contract with a famous band leader. Michael tells her that a first offer was legitimate, $10,000 for a release. When the band leader refused, Don Corleone went back with the henchman Luca Brasi, and the band leader signed the release for an offer of just $1,000. What happened? Michael tells her.
How'd he do that?
My father made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
He finishes the story by saying his father assured the band leader that the latter's brains or his signature would be on the contract. The offer is not really an offer, but a threat of violence. This is key to showing the Corleone family's position in the first film. It has immense power and the ability to flex it to get what it wants, sometimes with a simple threat, sometimes with passive violence, sometimes with direct violence. At bottom, the family has the strength to manipulate using all 3. It has the strength because when the film opens, the family is at the apex of its power in New York, with its control of gambling and the unions and its influence with judges and politicians. But times are quickly changing, something Don Corleone miscalculates. The world eventually changes so much that we all have trouble recognizing why, how much, and how fast. Both his son Santino and Consigliere and adopted son Tom tell him that narcotics are the future, but the Godfather sees it as a dirty business, one that will taint the family and rob it of its political influence. His refusal to get into the racket leads to him getting shot and the family eventually being chased out of New York. Before that happens, Brando uses the famous line in the opening wedding sequence, telling a doubtful Johnny that he will convince a Hollywood producer to give Johnny a coveted film role.
It's too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Director and co-screenwriter Francis Ford Coppola's use of Pacino's story before this gives it great power and foreshadowing, and we can't wait to see how it will play itself out. Just as the bandleader did, the producer Jack Woltz rudely dismisses Tom's offer of getting rid of union problems for Woltz should he give Johnny the part. This time, a threat gives way to actual violence. Woltz's prize racehorse is decapitated and the head is placed in his bed. Johnny, of course, gets the part. The last time the line is used, it comes from Michael himself. Because the family refuses to get into narcotics, it is quickly losing ground and power in New York. Michael recognizes that in order to survive, the family must eliminate the heads of the other families and then pivot, moving the center of his operations west to Las Vegas in order to take advantage of the legalized gambling business growing exponentially in a post-war environment. Michael is convincing Johnny to sign a personal services contract for the family, assuring him that they are buying out gangster Mo Green's casino shares, placing it in top position in the city. Michael's brother Fredo says that Mo will never agree to sell, prompting Michael to echo his father.
Mo loves the business. He never said nothing to me about selling.
Yeah, well, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
The family, as it becomes the most powerful entity in the West, has the muscle to move Green out, either through manipulation or violence. It is achieved through the latter, when Michael eliminates those who are threats to him. But all good things must come to an end, which leads us to the sequel. The sequel, which is arguably greater than the original, is really a story grounded in the most fundamental and fascinating principle of the universe, entropy. Any and all systems cannot stay ordered. They are doomed to disorder and chaos, something perhaps best and most poetically captured by William Butler Yeats in his poem, The Second Coming. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The system in this case is La Cosa Nostra, the organized Italian-American crime apparatus. It is fraying, under attack from without and within, and falling victim to outside forces beyond its control. The government is coming for them, and Lee Strasberg's Hyman Roth character, a Jewish gangster with enormous power and influence, directly makes reference to the historically real Kefauver Committee, the informal name given to a U.S. Senate special committee devoted to investigating the American Mafia and headed by Estes Kefauver, a senator from Tennessee. That committee eventually gave way to task forces created under the leadership of Robert F. Kennedy, and those entities greatly diminished the Cosa Nostra's influence and power in America by the 1980s. The Godfather Part 2 brilliantly juxtaposes the rise of Vito Corleone, played in younger form by Robert De Niro, who won an Oscar for his performance, and the decline of Michael. Vito has honor and principles, is a devoted family man, and he builds something in a simple but ordered system. Michael, meanwhile, is caught in a complex and devolving system. His honor and principles appear gone or buried. He is losing his family, uppercase F, and his family, lowercase f. The key to the film's power is how Coppola placed these two worlds off of each other by jumping back and forth in time. Within the collapsing system, Michael is surrounded by enemies, and the only way to survive is to coldly calculate and play them off of each other in a masterful game of cat and mouse. Simple violence, implied or otherwise, is passé in this world. It demands a Machiavellian approach, and nothing and nobody can be completely trusted. It demands that Michael heed one of the most important lessons taught to him by his father. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Michael says the line after Frank Pentangeli, a family associate who has taken over Corleone operations in New York, tells him that they should kill Roth. The idea, like Frankie, is old-fashioned and outdated.
My father taught me many things here. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
So Michael convinces Frankie that he knows Roth has tried to assassinate him and needs his help in defeating Roth. Meanwhile, Michael convinces Roth that he knows it was Frankie who tried to have him killed, and he will exact his revenge and preserve a deal with the Jewish gangster. As the government closes in, and the Mafia's corrupt partnership with Fulgencio Batista of Cuba falls apart amid the Castro Revolution, Michael ruthlessly frames and blackmails a U.S. senator for his help and support, all while his personal world is crumbling. Who is really the betrayer? What is Michael's ultimate plan? Who will survive and who won't? Coppola beautifully and calculatingly answers the questions, all while making one of the most visually stunning and well-acted stories ever put to film. In the end, Michael's Machiavellian approach temporarily preserves the status quo. He has kept his enemies close, and he, quote-unquote, wins, but he loses everything dear to him in the process. The center cannot hold. The film, especially Coppola's 2020 recut, which importantly shifts a scene in which Michael has a conversation with a Catholic cardinal in charge of the Vatican Bank to the beginning, is the story of a tortured man seeking redemption. It is very Shakespearean and very powerful. Michael is older, suffering from diabetes and sensing his mortality, and he wants nothing less than to cleanse his soul, wash away the sins of the past, and preserve a legacy for himself, his heirs, and his family name.
Your whole past history and the history of your family and your children will be washed away.
But the thing about the past is that it can never be put to rest. As William Faulkner wrote in Requiem for a Nun, the past is never dead. It's not even past. After Michael pledges $600 million to the Vatican Bank in order to seize control of a mammoth property company, with the blessing of the Pope himself, that can completely legitimize his holdings, his old associates want a piece of the action. His past haunts him, not just here, but in every facet of his life. His ex-wife, Kay, has remarried and fears him. His son wants nothing to do with his business. Michael's transgressions are so great, so monstrous, that even he doubts that he can be redeemed, even by a cardinal, the future pope, who hears his confessions and agrees that they are indeed terrible. but that nobody is beyond redemption. But Michael gets pulled back into that old criminal world against his will, and it almost kills him when the stress sends him into a diabetic coma in a scene reminiscent of Shakespeare's King Lear.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Its Shakespearean connections extend even to a bastard character, here played by Andy Garcia as the illegitimate son of Michael's brother, Sonny. Garcia's Vincent is willing to do anything to help Michael and preserve the deal, even when it means traveling into that shadow world of corruption. After nearly 30 years of trying to move into a legitimate world, to reclaim at least a part of himself that was forever lost in the original when he agreed to commit murder on the family's behalf, the weight of the past is simply too much. It proves a world from which Michael cannot escape. His soul is lost, and he is doomed to suffer on Earth, losing everything that he holds most dear, including a favored daughter who becomes an innocent victim. And Michael's tortured howls over her dead body are as awful as Lear's over Cordelia. There is no out. There is only a world that one has built and created, and Michael discovers that his brains and talent for big deals, as Frank Pentangeli puts it in The Godfather Part 2, are no match for fate. Coppola adds a postscript to the recut that reads, "When Sicilians wish you cent'anni, it means for long life." Michael gets his, but it is one of sadness and regret, a long life of painful memories of things lost in a world that has him forever trapped.